Billiard, fresh off the plane from Adelaide, and Anne Sargent.
Thanks very much, Karen. I'm glad to be indoors. It was very chilly in Adelaide last night where we were doing some hockey. But here it's Victoria and South Australia, and a chance for South Australia to come up with a double this afternoon. But let's look at Victoria first of all. Under-21s come to the final undefeated with Eloise Southby and Tanya Edwards, the goalers, and Megan Fleiner at wing attack. Institute of Sport players Sue Howie and Bree Hodges are at centre and wing defence. Narelle Garbutt and Jackie Mead, both over 180 centimetres, are the circle defenders, so they have plenty of height at the back. Their coach is Lisa Alexander. Well, for South Australia, they've not had an easy time settling on their best shooting combination, but Sharon Purser and Jackie Featherston-Hall will start. Super League player for Contacts Audine Cobb is a key member at wing attack. Charlie McCulloch is at centre, and Julia Halliday wing defence, both from the Tango Club, with Peter Squire and Sally Browning in the last line, coached by Barbara Williams. So a very much wide open contest, this one, Anne, and just before we came on you were suggesting that you're leaning South Australia's way, even though they were beaten by Victoria by a goal on Wednesday.
Yes, well, they've suffered two losses. They lost to New South Wales the match before the semi-finals, and Victoria the previous day by one, as you say. I just feel there's a strength through their mid-court and an ability to really run the ball that Victoria may not be able to contain. They, of course, beat New South Wales going into today's final, and they did it through sheer aggression through the mid-court and accuracy in goals. They were unstoppable. I think they might be running their race well into this final.
So Sharon Purser will start, and they've tried a little bit of Sally George goals as well.
Yeah, Purser and George have been sharing the games in the lead-up rounds, with George starting and Purser coming on halfway through, but Purser's been putting on some great holds, using the backspace well, and she was unstoppable. Her accuracy was superb in yesterday's semi-final. I think the other player that's a standout for them is their wing attack in Audine Cobb, a wealth of experience from Super League, very steady on the delivery of the ball and a very athletic player.
Yes, Purser there to the right. George not starting, but if their goaling's not going well, then we could see her on. And the players about to be drawn onto court through a couple of balloon arches.
Televised live across Australia by the ABC.
South Australia won their semi-final 57-52 over New South Wales, a source of some disappointment for you, Anne.
Yes, it is. I really think we had the potential to beat either team, but we weren't on the day. As we watch Eloise Southby run on court for Victoria, I guess we should give the Vics credit, Steve. They've gone through undefeated. They've been very steady in their approach play, handled well by their coach, Lisa Alexander. Susie Howie, a very strong athletic player for them. Their skipper running out now at centre. Eloise Southby, their shooter, very accurate for them in goals. She was a member of the Australian under-21 squad this year. And as you mentioned, their circle players in Garbutt and Mead, very tall players, and they've had good tournaments.
Sitting with Marg Ango, South Australia Contacts coach, while South Australia were playing Victoria, she just looked at the height at the back for Victoria and shook her head and said, well, what do you do about that? And what are they feeding them in Victoria? Well, they've made their way to the final, and anything can happen here. Sharon Purser is followed out by Jackie Featherston-Hall. And Audine Cobb, who stepped into Super League play like she'd been doing it all her life this year, taking over from Mickey Washington there at Contacts, wing attack.
Goal defence, Peter Squire.
We had a look at the South Australian line earlier in the week and thought maybe they chose them with a stopwatch. If you have a look at the athleticism and the speed attached to these South Australian players, you'll understand what I mean. Peter Squire, their goal defence, another example of sheer athleticism.
Sue Luscombe, last player out there with the left-hand bandage. She has a broken finger, I think. They'd really be desperate to have to call on her off the bench.
Yeah, she is able to take the court. Their physio was working on a splint yesterday and some padding for it, and we felt she may even have entered our game, but she's able to play. But I understand it was quite a bad break, so they would be reluctant to expose her.
And our umpires for this match, closest to camera, bottom of the screen there, Chris Burton. And on the far side, Jan Cross. And under-21 championship. Well, New South Wales won it last year under you, Anne. South Australia the year before, and Victoria the year before that. So they've shared it around the three dominant states in the past few years. And And of course, it's Victoria in the blue and white attacking the goal to the right. Howie.
Just a touch of nerves out there, Steve. The team's lined up to the wrong ends of the court.
And Tanya Edwards pops the first one in for Victoria.
The Victorian decision in goals too was one that you couldn't count on. They've experimented between Kirsty Wheeler and Tanya Edwards throughout the championships, and it's Tanya Edwards that's been given the nod to run ahead of Eloise Southby.
A Victorian possession as South Australia denied their first shot at goal.
I don't think we should be confused if South Australia have a slow start. That seems to have been characteristic in a few of their games, but they run it home very strongly.
Goes against Julia Halliday, so Victoria looking for their second.
Strong positioning from Eloise Southby to hold a position on Sally Browning, and she's quite happy to shoot it from anywhere. If one area is weak in her game, it's the hands. They've let her down a few times on the long drive from the circle.
Wardine Cobb looking for Featherstone Hall. Garbutt picks up the scraps. So a few passes under pressure in the opening couple of minutes, as you might expect in a final. Big game for these girls. Howie.
Keeper.
Victoria, more importantly, is trying to push up from their fourth ranking at last year's Nationals. Beaten concisively in the semi-final, and they'd really like to push up the ladder.
McCulloch's centre pass. Cobb. So the Victorians out to a 3-0 lead early. Purser.
Makes it look easy. She's a very relaxed shooter.
Purser and Cobb, both from the Contacts Club. They'd have played a fair bit together. Might prove an important combination feeding the circle.
I haven't seen much of Purser because she comes from the bench behind very strong shooters, and remember Vicky Wilson, of course, was running with the Contacts line, so you can't expect her to precede her, but her build is very deceptive.
Good intercept, Featherstone Hall, and finishes. And South Australia, if they were a little shaky at the start, are settling nicely to draw level at 3.
Well, they were delightfully quick hands from Featherstone Hall on to Audrine Cobb, and Purser with the finish for them.
So 3 minutes gone, 3 goals apiece. There's a couple of players hit the deck there. Squire and Tanya Edwards. Edwards with the shot.
Contact, goal attack.
Well, there's no misses on the board for either team shooters. That's an impressive start for an underage group, given the pressure of the match.
Edwards.
Victoria will be working to control the pace of the game, as we've mentioned. South Australia with the ability to really run it and use their speed, and Victoria would like to see the pace controlled and the game steady.
The goal's coming a little more freely now as the players settle and the passes find their mark a little more assuredly.
Both big feeders leading in the same direction then, with nobody on the drive to the ball. But a penalty call against Featherstone Hall gives them relief.
The crowd lets Chris Burton know they didn't like the call. Must have taken South Australia to their hearts here.
Keeper, contact.
Featherstone Hall looking for something, and under pressure, it's a loose one.
It'll be a great contest in the centre between Charlie McCulloch for South Australia, skipper for South, and the skipper for Victoria, Susie Howie. Both controlling their teams, both the centres and both very strong runners.
It's a lot to ask of a centre, isn't it? They possibly the players that do the most running on court have to think about on-court captaincy as well. Flyner. Southby being chased into the corner, but it goes the other way. Edwards.
Victorian shooters giving good position to their feeders, good holds, nice open space and very steady.
So Victoria kick it out to a 3-goal lead.
And that's the first miss of the match. I wish we'd seen a few of those yesterday.
Purser. Victoria's centre pass through Howie. Flyner. Garbutt. Lots of South Australian defence working around Southby, and they come up with the ball.
It was good work then from Browning. She's not the most athletic player on court, but she's been able, as the tournament's gone on, to work quite well from a front position. And she does enough with the support of the players around her.
Little pass across to Edwards from Southby.
Couldn't read that call. I guess it must have been an offside that created the turnover. Although we have had a signal that it was a contact, but players not standing out of play for it.
McCulloch. And it comes all the way to the top of the circle.
Mead left with the task of a 2-on-1. She sticks more closely to Purser. That's her first miss. And a turnover for Victoria.
Contact against Featherstone Hall.
Advantage obstruction. Advantage obstruction.
Southby top of the circle. Edwards.
Umpires really eliminating any form of contact in the contest early on in this match. In other games, it's been more open in the challenge.
South Australia needed that to miss.
The match in the preliminaries between these two teams didn't see too much separating them for the full duration of the game. Only 1 goal the difference, and I think we can well expect that same sort of contest.
See, South Australia hit the lead only in the last quarter, but then lost it by the 1.
That's right, and you've got to remember this is at the end of a long, hard few days of netball. They've had a week where they've been playing, because of the new format, teams of their own ability more often.
So not too many easy games. The league's tired. Talking to a couple of players this morning, said they're really looking forward to the end of the tournament. They really are leg weary.
I tell you what, that warm-up for that last match is almost unbearable. It's mind over matter. And we've also seen, because of the toughness of the draw, coaches putting out not false lineups, but not the lineups they wish to play the next day in an effort to rest players, and they've made a lot of changes at half-time and throughout just to rest those legs.
Victoria protecting this 3-goal lead. 6 minutes 20-odd left in the first quarter. McCulloch.
Contact. Goalkeeper pass the shot.
Mead a little zealous then in holding off Purser.
Featherstone Hall, the uncontested rebound, that gratefully gobbles that up. Edwards. Well, Edwards and Southby really use their height to great advantage. They don't look to be that quick on their leads away from the circle, but they are fair targets to throw your pass at.
It's probably, though, an asset to have that control at the base. It doesn't have frantic speed all the way down the court. Their timing and their positioning is good. And if you have a good look, there are very few shots at a long range from the post. Nice drive down the court from South.
Purser scrambles for it. The hands down quickly. Garbutt. Narelle Garbutt had a recent knee operation after a dislocation. She's lucky to be back on court so quickly.
A couple of players in the under-21 competition, Alison Williams from New South Wales and Garbutt, both defenders, came away last year facing surgery and rehabilitation, and they've both come through it very well. Not so that sign.
Featherstone Hall, rare fumble from Cobb.
Penalty pass, wing defence out.
But she gets the whistle in her favour. Featherstone Hall.
Well, that was just unchecked by the umpire when it was actually a contact on the ball. Play on was allowed. It was like it didn't happen. I think it's our vantage point.
South Australia chance to draw level here. 4.5 minutes out from the first break. That was well short.
Well, South looking unsure in goals, which was not a feature of their game in yesterday's semi-final. Every shot they received from feeders, they potted without any thought. And there's just a hesitation and a bounce coming from both of them that will make them a little bit nervous as the game runs on. Timing not there for Featherstone Hall in shots.
Goal attack.
Peter Squire knocked to the ground as Edwards drove the circle.
Browning feeds it out to Squire. Big raps on Squire this year, Anne. A defender of the future, many people feel.
Yes, and she's a delightful drive through the middle, as well as being a great defender. It's her attacking flair that's a great asset to the South Australian line. She works very well from front position, which every coach would delight in.
Oh, Sharon Purser's unthreading. Quick the scissors before she pulls it all undone.
When I said they were coming undone in goals, I didn't mean they were completely coming unraveled. Well, they're ready to play on.
Victoria decided to have a mid-court conference. So a bit over 3.5 to go to quarter time. And contact against the goal attack in Featherstone Hall. So that was the chance to take the lead, let go.
Well, South Australia's attacking line in the middle just being checked on their challenges in the early stages, particularly by Jan Cross, who's pulling them out of those physical charges.
Flyner disputing it with Browning.
Browning with a good jump over the ball, but Edwards shoots through her. Edwards with 7 from 8, Southby 4 from 5, so a good opening from the Victorian shooters. And that's more relaxed from Purser.
So after Victoria had taken an early 3-goal lead, they've settled down in the last 5 minutes or so to go goal for goal. And as we'd hoped and optimistically predicted, that's a good close match. Howie casually trying to feed the circle, and the more desperate McCulloch manages to disrupt things.
Well, she's tenacious in defence. She's really a terrier.
A break.
And if you're concerned the legs won't last on that one, then you're wrong. She'll run all day.
Wing attack, shoulder.
Cobb, McCulloch, and Featherstone Hall. Long ball and dropping back into the space. Purser held the ground pretty well. She's a slighter build than her opponent.
And look at the options here. There's the drive from Cobb, but they elect to use backspace with Purser.
Advantage break, goal attack.
McCulloch.
Well, that was a poor feed from McCulloch. Purser was holding front space and the feed was premature.
As Purser didn't really either have front space or back. She was side by side really with her opponent.
I think she was hoping to get out off front position and use the back, but the feed came too soon for her.
So South Australia holding on by 1. Flyner. Edwards with a shot.
Well then.
And at this stage of the under-21 final in Sydney, we welcome viewers in Western Australia. The news that South Australia are leading Victoria 12-11 in what's been a very entertaining first quarter. Nice and tight, as the score suggests. Anyone's match. And a great afternoon of sport coming up on the ABC. The open final a little later.
Featherstone Hall realising nothing in front of her, nothing between her and the post. Might as well have a shot.
Inside the last
Ball against her.
Inside the last 40 seconds or so of the first quarter. And SA with the lead.
Well, good hands from Southby. Then I really flinched. I thought she might have dropped that one. It was thrown with some pace.
It's a heavy fall for the ball girl over the billboards there. I hope she's all right. She's pride hurt more than anything, I hope only. Meanwhile, a collision at the other end, so bodies falling everywhere.
Well, the floor's getting a good cleaning from these youngsters in preparation for the open match later in the day. There's been so many bodies dusting the floor.
Flying checked under her feet and saw she was out.
Wishing she was a size down, I think.
Yeah, the toes over the line. Good first quarter. And South Australia trailed by as many as 3 on 2 occasions, but come back to take the lead at quarter time, 12 goals to 11. So, and they started a little tentatively. Nerves were steadied and they played pretty well.
I think so. South Australia not quite relaxed in goals yet. I think they're aware they had a mighty match yesterday, and sometimes you know that, gosh, that could have been my best game, and you need to put it out again.
Let's see if we can hear Barbara Williams in there. See if we can do a little bit of eavesdropping in the huddle.
Victorians turned into themselves. Lisa Edwards speaking with the defence line, while the forward line, the attackers have sort of turned in and discussing them. You've got to give players time to do that.
And then at the last second you turn your body, so the ball's going
Good thing about the Victorian bench, you can see Kirsty Wheeler, who's not on court, acting as a pair of eyes for them.
You just got a little bit lazy in that last bit, and you just a little bit lacking in that free offer around the ring. So make sure you keep on doing that nice and strong, short and sharp. Right, Zeus, defence for the first 5 minutes was fantastic, right? So you need to keep that up for the whole game, especially her drives and penetrating down up the defence. So make sure you keep her up. Right, work on the midcourt, right? Work hard on the midcourt. Come on, Tam.
So nice little words of advice from Lisa Alexander. It's good to be able to hear it. And Lisa this year has been working with Joyce Brown, following the Australian team around.
She's worked as the apprentice coach this year, come through the ranks as a player in Victoria, and this is her first outing as a Nationals coach at under-21s. Nice manner with the girls, and you can hear the thing she's emphasising, as most people would be, that she wants the wing attack to keep up the speed and the re-offers. From Susie Howie, she wants absolute defence. She's really pleased with it, but she needs it to be sustained to halt that drive from South Australia. Hard to get a fix on the line from Barbara Williams, or Barney as she's known within the South Australian ranks. Difficult to hear what she was saying, but I'm sure she'd like a bit of settling in the attack line, and probably a little bit more drive through from Peter Squire.
Earlier, your team defeated Queensland to secure 3rd place in the under-21 standings.
Yeah, they had a strong win by 25. Hard to come out when you know you haven't got a place in the final and play that 3 and 4 spot, but we're pleased with the courage they showed.
So New South Wales 3rd, Queensland 4th, WA 5th, ACT 6th and Tasmania 7th. And the stats from the first quarter end.
Well, the accuracy there for Victoria, 4 from 5 at 80% for Eloise Southby, and Tanya Edwards, 7 from 9 at 77%. Both players outshining their counterparts in South Australia. 6 from 8 for Purser, 75%. Featherston Horse sitting down on 6 from 9. Now that's a drop from their performance yesterday, and that's something they'll be looking to raise.
I saw the match between the two on the Wednesday, and Purser came on after half-time, shot 90% in the 3rd quarter, but only 50 in the last. And she can be erratic.
That's something we've noticed about both their shooters, unfortunately. You've got to be there on the right day. I think we haven't... You can say they're hot and cold. They're not cold now. They're just a fraction of what they can do. There is, though, a steadiness about the Victorian line that at the moment looks to be unshakable. They're just plodding along with this.
So they tie it up at 12-all in the first minute of the second quarter. McCulloch, Purser, and Audine Cobb was riveted to the top of the circle. She wasn't going the way of the ball. And that's a cheap change of possession for Victoria.
Big game for Victoria. They weren't placed in either final last year, and their open team has missed out on a place in this year's final. So it's a lot of hope pinned on these youngsters as the future of Victoria. Good split there from Featherston Hall to get closer position, but the pressure over the shot was there from Garbutt.
Mead came up with the rebound, so Victoria swing it back to the other end. Edwards looking for the 1-2 with Howie. Hand on it from McCulloch. As you predicted, Anne, that's a great little tussle between Howie and McCulloch. Feature duel out there, and under pressure, Howie makes the mistake.
I think Howie's matured in her play this year. She, in previous years, has been just a touch erratic on the disposal of the ball and sprayed the odd one. But I think through this championship, she's really been able to drive the middle and place the ball as a feeder. So a level of maturity, I guess, coming from her experience in the Australian under-21 line earlier in the year. Again, a good defensive challenge from Susie Howie.
Well, that's what her coach was looking for, and that's what she's done. Flying up. Southby, Garbutt. Sorry, Edwards.
Whilst Southby doesn't have a wealth of speed, Browning doesn't either. So those drives that perhaps are a little bit down on pace, she's not going to be outraced by Browning. So the contest's fairly even there.
Southby, I think the daughter of Jeff, who played VFL for Carlton.
Yeah, she has quite a profile with his legacy.
So a good sporting family.
Good drive from Susie Howie, who loves the top of the circle.
Southby just off with that one. Nice recovery, though, from a teammate, Edwards.
And South's just lacking, a bit flat-footed under the post. The sort of rebound you'd expect to be eaten by Peter Squire.
Play advantage, obstruction.
McCulloch.
It's obstruction, wing.
See the switch with Bree Hodge. Hodges moving over to take up McCulloch.
South Australia have not scored in the second quarter, which is now nearly 4 minutes old. And Victoria have added 3 to take a 2-goal lead. Howie.
A bit of congestion there with both feeders driving the same place. Liners trying to clear the space. And the posts at both ends rejecting net balls for the last few minutes. That one, though, accepted from Southby.
And the South Australian defenders can't take a trick at the moment.
Well, just a quick glance at the score sheet shows 6 attempts for Victoria, but only 2 for South Australia in the opening minutes, and that's telling a tale of possession.
And South Australians have got the ball down to their circle more often than that, but it's been rejected once there. Victoria take their biggest lead of the match, 16-12.
Good work from the Victorian circle defenders. One covering the front of Purser, the other available to drive the back and pick off the high ball.
Culloch, important intercept. Garbutt gets a hand to it.
Just a touch of rush and panic creeping into the game. South don't want the 4-goal split to open any wider.
And the passes from South Australia under pressure. They're not quite creating the leads that create the space.
The thing that's lacking from the South Australian game is what's normally natural to it, which is the pass and drive. At the moment, they're playing one-off stuff, and we haven't really been able to pick up a pass and cut from Cobb to drive the circle.
Advantage, going on.
Well, panic there from Featherston Hoare. It finally drops in. She's expecting the penalty to be reset, I think, and the play it on advantage really threw her.
Well, their first goal of the second quarter took 5.5 minutes to come. I'll hope that opens it up for a string of them as they will trail by 3. Southby.
There's a lot of the game to go, but you just have to sit here getting the feeling, did South play their best game one day too early?
Cobb, Featherston Hoare. See, I like to play the advantage there. I mean, she wasn't affecting the play. It was already down another 10 or 15 feet.
Put your whistle down.
No, seriously.
Cobb with the ball, trying to get close on the circle. Good positioning from McCulloch, and she finds a well-timed move from Featherston Hall.
I'll take the argument up with Chris Burton later and lose. Brilliantly kept in, Audine Cobb.
Well, that's the sort of exciting play that really lifts the team, and she's upping the workload is Audine Cobb for South Australia, and they need her driving that circle. You see the legs pumping now from her.
McCulloch picks up Purser.
And when they have Purser and Mead one-on-one in the circle, they're looking good. It's when we have Featherston Hall early in the circle and thereby Hubbard accessible to Purser that that two-on-one's causing problems for them. There's the drive from Cobb. Takes it wide from the sideline, drives it across the top of the circle.
On the edge.
She got a bit of a knock for her effort.
Yeah, it's Bree Hodges landing on top of it.
Keeper.
That's the
Contact.
drive that puts a spark in the South Australian game.
Not too much given these wooden floors either, Anne.
No, the bruises to prove it.
Victoria.
Just about halfway through the second quarter, and South Australia have pulled it back to a 1-goal deficit now. Howie. And the defence from behind, not allowed by Jan Cross. There's a contact in there. Southby now. Cobb, McCulloch, Featherston Hall. Purser putting the Dodgers on the baseline. Featherston Hall it is who backs up, and 18-17.
Featherston Hall, great shot.
Flying for Victoria. Edwards.
The other defensive combination we've seen a lot of for South Australia has been to have Catherine Hubbarts playing at keeper with Peter Squire. Now, Hubbarts gives away height, but she's very mobile and strong on the drive. And when they play it that way, they just do a positional switch that allows Squire to work the back shooter, but still to drive through as a goal defence. Maybe we see a change like that coming from them. Just feel Browning's been caught a little flat-footed as this game's progressed. That was nice work from Squire.
Offside, wing defence.
Spoilt by an offside call against Julia Halliday, who was involved in the challenge.
Now Edwards has it. And just a little dish off without looking or pretending not to look. Southby.
Positioning of the Victorian shooters has been excellent in this match. They're holding space very well and their timing to leave the hold is spot on.
Featherston Hall, just the hands let her down, but they weren't made to pay. Howie offside.
Keeper. Contact.
Featherston Hall virtually appealing for that with her facial expression. The sandwich.
Chris Burton was sympathetic.
Well,
5:20 left till half time.
She's not one to be conned by the facial expression.
Well, she must have seen seen it as it was. Southby. Edwards.
Good position from Browning and had just enough elevation to drag that one down with her.
Now, Browning and Squire starting to take a few more rebounds now after they were suffering a drought early in the second quarter that allowed Victoria to get out to 4.
That was just a good chance for South to get back into the game, but spoiled by the defensive efforts of Susie Howie, who really is working that defence over time.
Edwards now.
Wing defender. Advantage obstruction. Centre. Obstruction. Yes.
Garbutt really working over Featherston Hall's shot, putting her under pressure. You could see the hesitancy then as she dished it off to the post. But the Victorian defenders using their height well.
Quick hands from Sue Howie to feed Southby. A shame that wasn't finished.
And this is South's chance to get back into the game.
3:40 to go, second quarter. Equaliser here and perhaps one or two more.
Better timing from Featherston Hall then.
Could be a real boost before half-time if South Australia can go on with it from here.
Featherston Hall to Cobb. McCulloch finds Cobb again. She's the main feeder in the team. Better timing on the shot.
Advantage obstruction. Centre.
South Australians not confident when their shots are held up. If you watch them, they have a very quick release of a shot. They shoot faster than any other shooters on court from other states, and they have a lower release. Now, the Victorian defenders, with their height and a good arm over the shot, have been able to hold up the shot, and that hesitancy is causing the misses. When they let it go, they're right. The timing's there.
So the Vics by 1 again. South B. South Australia have won this under-21 title 8 times, most recently 2 years ago. Victoria have won it 15 times, more than any other state.
Play.
Last time in 1991. McCulloch. Featherston Hoare. McCulloch to the corner. Howie with her as always. And
Spot by Howie, but it was an important stop because Purser had back position and was in one-on-one in the circle, and it would have been an easy delivery. By Howie spoiling it allowed the defenders to get in the circle and close down the space again, but eventually they work it through. Just interesting how the timing of a contact like that can really affect the chances for attack.
Well, kept her feet well, McCulloch. Pass really put her under pressure, and SA hit the lead. So we see their Super League teams do this time and again, make their run in the last couple of minutes before a break.
Good hole from Edwards, had Squire held on the outside position, far away from the post.
Browning happy to let that one go out over the base.
Contact, goal attack, holding. Where you are.
Clear call from Jan Cross. I'm interested to see that New Zealand coach Lee Gibbs has been here this week and keeping an eye on all our players, and particularly, I guess, those ones heading to the World Championship next year in Birmingham.
That's right, and we've had a couple of New Zealand umpires officiating within the championships. And that's been reciprocated by Joyce Brown attending the New Zealand Nationals. Very close calls being kept.
Cobb. South Australia have just taken a 2-goal lead, and we're inside the last minute of the second quarter.
Wing attack.
You think that South Australia really haven't given us the impression, Anne, that they've been at their best, yet they've still managed to take the lead here.
Yeah, they're tenacious. I think the edge just off their game to start. In yesterday's match, they looked hungry from the start. They really ran away with the game. They stamped their mark. It was theirs. Today, I think, just conscious that they have to have a steadiness, and they've got to be there at the end of the game.
The timekeeper will be up momentarily. Victorians would love an equaliser here. Have they got time for it?
McCulloch thinking she was away with that one, but the body contact called against her will give Howie the feed. She has to wait for McCulloch to be out of play and beside. Great timing from Browning. She doesn't... Well, she doesn't get away with a contact. It's simply an offside rule, and South Australia able to hold it up.
So a little delaying tactics there from South Australia pay off, because the whistle has beaten them all, and it was a 1-goal game at quarter time, and it's still that at half time. South Australia and Victoria contesting the under-21 championship here at the State Sports Centre in Homebush in Sydney, and at half time it's 24 to South Australia, 23 to Victoria.
And we'll be back for the second half in just a few minutes. But updating the playoffs for third and fourth held earlier this afternoon at the State Sports Centre in Sydney. And in the Open Division for 1994, victory went to Queensland by 3 points over Victoria. Whilst in the under-21 division, it was victory to New South Wales, champions in 1993, defeating Queensland by 15 points, 65 to 40. Well, Greg Miles has already given us his tips for the Caulfield Guineas, that race scheduled for 2:25. Later this afternoon sees the running of the two-rack handicap and the weight for age Caulfield Stakes. Again with his choices, here's Greg.
Thanks, Karen. The two-rack handicap, one of the big mile races in Australia, and I think Lee Friedman can take the first of two big races out today in Poetic King. Now, he was scratched from the Epsom because of a colic attack. He'd also drawn poorly there. He's got barrier number 1 today. He's back to Caulfield where he's unbeaten, and he's unbeaten on rain-affected ground. I think he'll get the run of the race and beat them today. Poetic King, number 2 to beat 4 State Taj and 3 Kingston Bay. 2, 4 and 3 in the Toorak handicap. Now, Lee Friedman, I think, can take out the other big one today, the Caulfield Stakes. He's got Paris Lane engaged. He wasn't going to run this horse, but since he ran out badly in the race that Reading took out last Sunday, he's decided to give him that one extra run before the Caulfield Cup, a race for which he's favourite. I think he can take this out. Jeune is the danger, certainly, and for third, number 3, the Phantom Chance. So 9, 6 and 3 in the Caulfield Stakes.
Thank you, Greg. So going through Greg's Miles tips. First up, the Toorak handicap scheduled for 3:05 Eastern Time this afternoon. 2 from 4 and 3, Poetic King, State Taj and Kingston Bay. Whilst in the Caulfield Stakes scheduled for 3:45 Eastern Time, Greg's tips 9 from 6 and 3, Paris Lane from Jeune and the Phantom Chance. Well, a quick update now on the Australian Indoor Tennis Championships being played in Sydney and the opening singles semi-final this afternoon. The Aussie Mark Woodford up against the might of Boris Becker, and a short time ago the match just getting underway. It's even Stevens. Woodford served and won the opening game. Becker has replied in equal fashion, so 1 apiece in the opening set, and we'll keep you updated with that match throughout the afternoon. Well, back now to Steve Rebillard and Anne Sargent for the second half of the Under-21 Grand Final for 1994. Nothing much in it. At this stage, South Australia up by 1, 24-23.
Yes, another great couple of quarters coming up in the Under-21 final. And there are 3 important people in Australian netball from the left. Kay Teed, Marg Angove and Australian coach Joyce Brown. And Penny, for your thoughts about their thoughts, Anne.
Well, their job first, we should clarify, is as Australian under-21 selectors to choose our national 21 squad, which is important in its timing because not next year but the year after that a team will be contesting the World Youth Cup. So they'll be looking to choose a squad that has an injection of youth and a base that can be carried across the next 2 years to that event. And of course this is a crucial match for that selection. They no doubt have plotted a few other players from previous games, but they'll be looking to see who holds up under pressure and who comes through, particularly in the final quarter of these important semi-finals and finals.
Victoria set to make a couple of changes, we believe. Kirsty Wheeler will come on at goal attack, replacing Tanya Edwards, and at wing defence, Bree Hodges making way for Katrina Latour.
Interesting enough, those changes for Victoria have happened in many matches, whether they've been winning or losing. South look to be pretty well intact. I can't see any changes on that bench, and with a line that's now starting to run at Victoria, you wouldn't think necessarily to change it. I still believe they're playing below their best. I think the timing hasn't come for South Australia. I don't think the shooters are comfortable on the shot. They need to get that confidence running it onto the circle and a quick shot happening again, and then they'll be in business.
The umpires calling the players onto court.
I'm working off her.
And it's absolutely anybody's match. There's only 1 goal in it when they met on Wednesday, 53-52 to Victoria. And now it's South Australia up by the 1. And there are the shooting stats.
And I think they pretty well clarify one of those half-time changes. If you look at 2 from 5 against Tanya Edwards, 40%, that will explain the injection of Kirsty Wheeler into the game for Victoria. Eloise Southby sitting soundly there with 10 from 13 at 76%. South Australia really upping the rate through Jackie Featherstone-Horn, 9 from 11, so she's really lifted her shooting rate, 81%. Sharon Purse is still not confident. She was a scoring machine for them, as we mentioned yesterday, and had the volume of shots, but only 3 from 4 for her. I think, Steve, the first intercept of the match, of this, quarter, was from Katrina Latour, perhaps explaining the change there.
And Kirsty Wheeler's got herself involved, and the Vics have taken the lead in a flash.
Goalkeeper. Hazel shot.
Purser. Tied up at 25 all. Those of you who may have seen another Wheeler go around in Super League a couple of years ago, Alex Wheeler. Kirsty is the younger sister. Here is Kirsty now. working with Flyner, working it closer to the post. Southby got trodden on. She's quickly okay. Well, they were only 1 goal behind. I guess it was a brave call making 2 changes there. You're very much in it at half-time, only down by the 1. You play your cards at half-time thinking, well, at three-quarter time it could be too late. It's something that only experience and judgment can bring to a decision like that.
Well, I think the decision is based on how they've run through the week, and that's really all you can go by. And when Alexander has made the change, bringing on Wheeler at goal attack, she's lost nothing and in fact gained a little as the game's gone on. So I guess she can only go by what players are given her to date. And I think too, fresh legs in defence. Katrina Latour is a good workhorse, and she has a different reach over the ball. She'll inject a different timing there to make Audine Cobb think differently. We did notice, though, that Audine Cobb was starting to really find that drive to the circle, so they'll be looking to keep her off there.
South Australian bench, of course, a little shallow, with Susan Luscombe not likely to be called upon with that finger injury, so they've only got Sally George and Catherine Huppatz that they can call on. They'll be hoping that this lineup stays together. Purser. 27 all. Flyner. Oh, it's got to be a held ball. Oh, no. Well, she had it for an age, but then somebody gave her a nudge. Howie. Southby. Back to Howie in the corner.
Wheeler was holding for the ball to be swung so she could just step across to it. Hasn't quite worked that way. Now she finds a space on the baseline, but foot goes out of court.
Wing attack, contact.
Call against Flyner, so a chance for South Australia to retake the lead. McCulloch, a bit stuck in the mid-court. Good defensive rate from the Victorians. Howie over the ball too. Featherston Hall back across. Latour there. She keep it in? No, she had a foot over the line.
Where you are? Play.
And the Victorian defence allowing Featherston Hall to play as a third feeder. They're more content to sit and guard the post and have 2 on Purser, so there's no space for the drop.
Latour to Howie. Meant for Flyner. She stopped on a drive, though. And the pass ended up well in front of her. McCulloch.
Obstruction. Where the player is, please.
So Squire reset by Chris Burton. Just getting a little hesitant in the centre third, and
well, there's not too much space to pick the drive, and there's a lot of bodies running up the back of them as they're moving, and what's happening is the timing's starting to go. Really need to have confidence to hold to the last, and then when you hit it, to go all out. But yes, that hesitancy through the mid-court, and that's something that's been the key to South Australia's game. So teams that come up against them go out there with the thought of really holding up the charge through the middle and affecting their timing, knowing they're not comfortable playing at a slower pace.
Howie. Southby works away to the front, but that frees up Wheeler back towards the post.
Well, it's running with the centre at the moment, just everything you'd want and expect in a final for a national title. Purser finds the back space. It's been a long while since she's been able to do that.
28 apiece.
McCulloch, Featherston Hall holds it up, sees the back space there for Purser, drops it over the top of Hubbard.
Wing attack, contact.
Latour with it for Victoria. Now we've been going goal for most of the match. Should it be all tied up at full time, they will play extra time. 7 minutes each way. Cobb.
10 to third.
8.5 minutes left, third quarter. Really quite a low-scoring game. Tribute to the defence of both teams. Pressure over the shots.
Play.
Latour.
Goal defence.
And it goes against Garbutt. So Cobb with a chance to feed the circle.
Advantage obstruction, offside centre.
Good reach over that shot on Purser. Got a touch of the ball on its way to the post. She's really under pressure from the long reach of Mead and Garbutt.
Advantage.
Good comeback from Garbutt, having given away the penalty earlier.
Yes, neither of them are playing a sensational game in terms of intercepts, but they're really working their own players, shutting down the spaces, particularly on Purser as the back shooter, and the reach over the shot is excellent.
Howie finds Wheeler. Just a wipe off Browning. And
Unlucky was through the hands then of Squire.
Squire throws it away in disgust, and here's a chance for Victoria to build a handy little lead here. They're up by 2. They convert, it's 3. And once again, South Australia will be called upon to mount a comeback.
Victoria with a nice run. Kirsty Wheeler finds Flyner. Quick ball to Southby on the base. They cross it over to their skipper, Susie Howie, with a great pass under the post to Wheeler.
Purse, meanwhile, at the other end has popped in one for South Australia. So we're 31-29. Wheeler. Latour. Southby.
Throw it in.
And realising it came off South Australian hands, she's happy to let it go. Wheeler to bring it in for the Vicks. And Southby the rebound.
South Australia had been lacking on some of the rebounds, just a little flat-footed. That really was not necessarily supposed to be one-way traffic for Southby, but she had an easy meal of it.
Latour. Oh, McCulloch lost away there, chasing that pass. And the Vicks are looking steadier.
Peter Squire having a quiet game for South Australia. She's really going to have to lift her workload. And I think it was her that placed that last ball down court to McCulloch.
It's a long time since Victoria have enjoyed a 4-goal margin. Doing that now. Southby to make it 5.
Victoria looking steady. Good hands then from Southby to haul it in, and the finish.
So the Vicks have outscored South Australia 11-5 in this third quarter.
And a poor feed from Ording Cobb. We're not used to seeing that. Mead read it well, had good line to the ball.
Well, we hear it said time and again in sport that the third quarter's the crucial one. Maybe Victoria are going to prove that again today as they take it out to 5. Featherston Hall.
Contact.
Jackie Mead, Garbutt, Howie. Wheeler.
Oh, that's delightful skill from Victoria's under-21 line. Beautiful play down the court for them. Timing really coming together for Victoria. Mead starts it off to Garbutt. Susie Howie, their skipper. Now the timing starts to swing as Finer puts a long ball onto Southby and she turns it to Wheeler on the drive to the post.
And suddenly it's a 7-goal lead to the Victorians with 4 minutes left until three-quarter time. And it's starting to look a long way back for SA. McCulloch.
You remember you're sitting next to someone who watched a team come from 13 yesterday?
Half a shot.
Oh, they got it left in the legs though. And I wonder if Barbara Williams will consider a change or two.
She has. Susie Luscombe's off the bench. She's gone out the back with the ball. As too has Sally George, their shooter.
Oh, that was an ambitious pass. Lots of Victorian defenders there, and it has worked against them. The whistle goes in favour of the Victorians. Latour.
Victoria playing a very steady game of defence. It's not flamboyant. You couldn't come away thinking it was anything like that, but they've worked the ground well as Flyner crashes into the table, lies along the table and rejoins the game. They've really worked the ground and they've worked over the ball, and that's doing your basics well. And as a result, they've put pressure on the feed, and we've seen a few unforced errors in the last couple of approach plays from South Australia. This is an important shot for Purser.
Tipped out the back by Garbutt. South Australian ball. 2:40 left in the quarter, and they need 2 or 3 here on end.
Interesting, and we keep making reference to yesterday, but the semi-finals are so crucial because if you don't have your best game at the right time, obviously you're not in the final. South Australia played a blinder to knock out New South Wales. Victoria were less convincing yesterday. They had a tough struggle against Queensland and were quite measured and only came through at the end, so perhaps they've been able to hold back that little bit and save it for today.
Victoria won their semi 55-44. Well, that was shaping as a better movement from South Australia. Unfinished though. 6 goals, still the lead to the Victorians.
Well, it breaks your heart in goals for South Australia, particularly mine. But they've put up 4 from 6 in Purser. Featherston Hall, though, has had 4 misses with 7 attempts. And they're not stats you want to carry into a national title.
Well, on Wednesday, Featherston Hall shot 100% in the second and the fourth quarters against the Victorians in that losing effort.
Where you are. Both players out of structure.
Well, you can't miss them from under the post with 2 players out and be in the hunt for the win. Trailing by 7.
Featherston Hall, and it rattles through. Flyner.
Good touch from McCulloch, the backup from Cobb. There goes the speed, drive to the circle. It's the finish that's important.
Well, Latour, not quite a professional foul, but she saw that Purser was on her way and just gave a little push in the back.
Purser with a shot. I think despite that last shot from Purser and that delivery, and that's better timing from South, we may still see Sally George enter the game as shooter, and she's a very simple, economical shooter, but again very accurate, and perhaps a defence change as well.
So a string of goals in the last 60-70 seconds, 38-34, 39-34, sorry. And South Australia denied the chance to get away another shot.
And the shot will be taken.
Oh, it will be. Oh, Jan Cross has reset it.
Elbow.
Penalty, elbow against Mead. Purser with a very crucial shot.
So 39-35. And although Victoria have turned things around remarkably in that third quarter, just the fact that South Australia have been able to trim it towards the end when it was out by 7, now back to 4, it still means, and that the last quarter will give us a wide open final still.
I think so. I think the changes from South Australia will be interesting, and as we were previewing, I think we'll see Hubbarts come on in defence and Browning leave the game.
Ordine Cobb is going to centre, McCulloch to wing attack. So they're swapping bibs.
Hard to tell whether that's a change to freshen legs or whether they really want to try and get Ordine Cobb on the drive and McCulloch just doing the tight circle work. I don't think they've had as much use of Cobb as they'd like. You know, the number of drives we've actually seen her take on and deliver have been few. And there'll be no changes in the Victorian camp, you can expect. They're pretty pleased with that third quarter. And no matter what's come at them, I think they've played a very level-headed game, very steady, complete in goals.
Come on.
Latour and Garbutt sitting together. It's be a big achievement for Lisa Alexander if she can get the Vicks up.
I want you to work, I want you to keep her out of there, I want you to go out there and turn in on her, okay? And keep her out, she wants to run, I want you to come out and turn and keep her out, okay?
Catherine Huppett's clearly going to come on as goalkeeper, replacing Sally Browning. Huppett's from the Cougars Club in Adelaide. Well, they're pretty excited about the prospect of a win here. I don't think there'll be any slacking off of intensity. A 4-goal lead is nothing against South Australia. SA having made the running for a lot of the match, led by 1 at quarter time, 1 at half time, down by 4 now.
What's happening?
Howie gets it underway for Victoria at the start of the 4th. So 15 minutes for Victoria to protect the lead, South Australia to do something about it.
Obstruction.
And Victoria would be very pleased with the efforts of Eloise Southby, 100%, 6 from 6, and 2 Kirsty Wheeler, who's ended the game with 83%. 10 from 12 in her first quarter of the match. South Australia, though, can't quite get it swinging from both shooters at the same time. 7 from 10 from Purser, that's solid, but Featherston Hall falling off to 50%.
Wheeler to Southby. And the Vicks get the first of the final quarter. And Purser doesn't muck around with that centre pass. Just put 1 foot in the circle and they were away. Cobb, sorry, to Purser now. So Cobb, the new centre for South Australia, looking to provide some running, some drive. Victorians looking the steadier of the two. They don't rush their goals quite the way South Australia do. It's fine for SA when it works, but throughout the match, the Victorians have looked the steadier. Howie. And against Julia Halliday.
Advantage offside. Attack. Intimidation. Pass a shot.
Southby will get to retake it. Cobb looking for a runner. McCulloch.
Featherston Hall working as a third feeder, electing to stay out in the court and do a lot of work out there. They're going to need her running the goals home too. Mentioned that she can sometimes be hot or cold in goals. It hasn't been her hottest today.
Flyner, Latour. Trina Latour's had a good game since coming on and after half time.
Yeah, she's a good fighter. And how easy was that? Just the hold, and it's the timing on the offload that's all important. And that's what is existing in this Victorian line. Good timing.
South Australia needing to make sure of their own possession.
It's Howie's.
And but they've got to crack a couple of the Victorian centre passes, but that's not the way to go about the comeback. Turning over possession with those intercepts. Garbutt. And there's no real need for Victoria to hurry. I mean, they can't sit and protect the lead.
Good work from Halliday.
Nor do they have to hurry it. Cobb. Purser. McCulloch and Purser.
Good reach from Mead over Purser's shot. Does the damage. And that's been the story.
Garbutt,
good pressure over the shot from Victoria all through this match.
Flyner. And Wheeler managed to shake off Peter Squire.
Victoria on the drive. Fleiner over the top of Peter Squire, who was caught in no man's land, and Kirsty Wheeler loves it as she puts another in.
Contact. Penalty pass.
Contact against Victoria.
Advantage obstruction.
Cobb. Featherstone Hall.
Wing defender.
Sixth the lead for Victoria.
Mead again with great reach over the shot. That time, though, pinged. An advantage called on the shot. South Australia with some work ahead of them.
Cobb.
Featherstone Hall is working overtime out on the field.
That's unlucky. It's come off a foot and out. And Jackie Mead to restart for the Vicks.
Contact. Wing attack.
Against McCulloch, so they bring it up court. Howie.
Obstruction. Shooter.
Fleiner. Howie working overtime out there. Try and steer
And
her
a screen
team home.
there from Kirsty Wheeler to hold space for Eloise Southby. Draws the contact. Southby makes them pay. Victoria playing a very controlled game.
It's advantage break.
Contact. Penalty pass.
Huppets gives up the contact. Howie to take the pass. Fleiner. The push from Halliday, says Jan Cross. Wheeler. And it's a 7-goal lead to Victoria. 9:40 to go in the final for the under-21s.
Good ball to pick up Purser. Well, nothing dropping for South Australia. It rained goals all day for them in their semi, and they've got a drought today.
Advantage offside.
Rolling. Ready.
Garbutt picks it up. Well, 8:40 on the clock, 7 to go. It can be done, but it's a big ask for South Australia. Howie. And although they've had a couple of near misses, Victoria, as the team that's gone through to this stage undefeated.
Contact.
In a long tournament, you're tempted to say they deserve the title. They haven't lost a match.
No, I think they've been consistent and controlled all through the championships, and particularly in the one that counts. I mean, a lot of the coaches have been saying during the week, apart from trying to develop a line and test things, you really have to save it for the big matches at the end. And I think Victoria have managed to do both and do it well. But this game, more than any, they've been quite complete.
Right, where you are.
Southby.
And whilst we say Souths isn't having their best game, that usually means your opponent hasn't allowed you to.
9-goal lead then for Victoria. Squire, Cobb.
And we're starting to float the ball, which is not in their interest. Those floated passes cross-court and deep are made for defenders to come screaming out and eat. And again, the defensive pressure from Howie.
Down goes Fleiner, up again quickly. She's okay. And the thought of the title victory, no doubt, helping her get to her feet quickly. Howie, Wheeler. Squire to Huppets to Cobb.
Oh, good work from Latour to keep McCulloch off the first two moves.
Cobb. Featherstone Hall.
Contact. Keeper. Victoria.
Souths with a chance to drag one back. Purser working out of the circle, giving Featherstone Hall the drop and the responsibility in goals, and she does it.
Another one for the Vicks at the other end through Southby, and 10-5. They've outscored South Australia through the first 7.5, 8 minutes of this final quarter. They're certainly coming home the stronger.
Well, I think time will prove the enemy for South Australia now. Whilst their attacking line is running quite well and the timing coming through, the clock's going to beat them.
Attack, goal defence. Where you are.
Wheeler.
Advantage break.
Featherstone, Horder, McCulloch. Cobb.
There's a drop to Featherstone Hall. Picked well by Cobb.
Howie to Flyner.
And Victoria now playing with the composure of a team just that little bit relaxed that knows they've pretty well got a title in the bag. Whilst they won't stop working, there's a comfort zone that now appears around their play. Foot was out. That'll be a Vic throw-in.
A little over 5 minutes to go in the under-21 final, and it looks to be Victoria's as Jackie Mead was about to bring it in, but penalty further up court. Latour takes that through the hands of Wheeler. Contact against Squire.
Squire's had an unhappy game and one she'd like to produce her best. The whistle count's been heavy on her and she's been unable to get much first ball.
Southby.
Looking pretty comfortable.
And it's 10-goal lead for the Victorians.
Southby's run it home beautifully for Victoria. She's put up 10 from 11 in this final quarter.
Advantage offside, Wick.
So whilst we've said speed perhaps isn't in the repertoire, there's a wealth of skills that do exist and she's using them all superbly in this final.
McCulloch for South Australia. Can they mount a challenge in the last 4 minutes? Not with Latour intercepting the pass that was meant for Cobb. Wheeler. Howie on her own. Southby shakes off Huppets.
And it's bad to say it makes the win for Victoria all the sweeter when they remember that they suffered a 20-odd goal defeat in the semis last year and ended up finishing fourth, and they've risen from 4 to 1. And fragile as that may be at an under-21 level where the turnover is constant, I'm sure they'll savour it for 12 months.
Contact. Outside.
And you'd have to say very deserved in every department on court.
Advantage, goal defence.
Southby now, and 11 the lead again. McCulloch and Purser. I guess we have to say that Lisa Alexander pulled the right rein with the changes she made, placing Tanya Edwards with Kirsty Wheeler and Bree Hodges with Katrina Latour. So the only player not getting a run for the Vicks, Nicole Carlson. In a long tournament like this, it's a real total squad effort, and to get your team to the final and win it.
And I think it's also been a recommendation to consider allowing 12 to be part of a squad, whereby coaches can either take 12 to championships or take 10 and draw another 2 if needed. To my knowledge, it hasn't been approved yet, but given the intensity of the competition now in this compact form where we play top teams over and over, it's probably a good recommendation. But it does really test your depth well and truly.
56-45, 2 minutes to go, and later today the Australian team will be announced, and that'll be a squad of 12. That's for the World Championships. It's a long way out to pick it. But,
I'm quite pleased that the 12 will be announced, as frustrating as it may be for players. I think they come well out of national championships in a position to prove their best, and I think they need to have the security of knowing they're in the line and they're working towards that one goal.
Play.
Southby. And 57-46. So it's going to be Victoria's title. The title won last year by New South Wales and by South Australia in 1992. The Vics won it in 90 and 91. It's going to be theirs in 94 as Latour feeds Wheeler, Howie. Great aerial skills and balance. Really benefiting from her time at the Institute of Sport. And some smiles starting to crease the faces of the 7 on court.
Advantage offside.
We get inside the last minute. The clock stopped there. And soon the timekeeper will be up. And although that was a loose one, I don't think it'll worry the Victorians now as they look up at the scoreboard and see that they're up by 12. South Australia fighting it out to the last, as we'd expect from them. Featherstone Hoare up for that heavy collision with Jackie Mead.
Play. Go defender.
And ball goes against Garbutt. Picked out by Chris Burton.
Advantage obstruction.
But any dent in the margin here is coming too late. The timekeeper's out of a chair. And that's it, an 11-goal win to the Victorians. The bench empties. The coaches embrace on the sideline too as the players shake hands. But that's a great win for Victoria.